Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Scrap Your Scraps. Long time no see. Sorry I've been AWOL the last couple of weeks. Had some throat surgery done, so I've been struggling to get my voice back. So I may take multiple breaks in this video, but it won't interfere with your time because it'll just come through like a regular video. Today we're going to just play a little bit with a challenge that came across my desk the other day, which was to work with plain cardstock and come up with a pretty layout, two-page layout using plain cardstock. So my interpretation is that as long as all of my paper pieces are plain cardstock, anything goes. So with that in mind, I am going to be using some media today, and we're going to play around a little bit with it. So what I've simply got here is that textured cardstock, 12 by 12, but I'm going to use the smooth side, or maybe I'll use the textured side. Maybe I'll use the textured side this time. So what I'm going to do is just simply attach them on the back, because I always like to have my center point and work from my center. Grab a little bit of tape just to keep the pieces together while I'm working. And this is repositionable tape. Whew, there we go. Alright, so I've got the texture side up now. Now what I want to do is I want to kind of build some kind of a central section for all of the pieces that I put on top to lay on top of. So what I mean by that is that I'm going to have bits and pieces coming across here for my imagery and other pieces of cardstock. So I want to be able to sort of build color from this center section. And I think I am going to start, oh, this is giving me a bit of a headache. I had a hairband in that I'm not used to. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I am going to start off. I'm using this product called Eyes Ink, Seth Apter product. He's working with a company called Aladdin these days. And so I'm going to start off playing with a little bit of that. And I just got to get the lid off. And the packaging in this is quite unique. It's little glooby tubes of stuff. And I am going to just splurt some out on my page. And make sure I don't get any hair in there. And I'm going to make sure that I get the outside wetness off because they do stick together, as you've just seen. I have an old crummy paintbrush that I use for just messing around. And that's basically what I'm going to do right now, is I just want to mess around with this coming right into the center. And I'm really literally not paying much attention to shape or form or anything like that. Just trying to get sort of a base going with some open spots because you want everything to breathe a little bit. Now, likely I'm going to have to come out farther, but that's okay. This stuff is all about building layers. And that's what we're going to be doing. Now, I'm just using cardstock, so you've got to make sure that you don't get your paper so wet that it starts to bend. So I'm just going to dry this off a little bit. Kind of looks like a peacock at the moment. And the thing about these pigments are that they have different finishes. So there's a glaze finish, meaning that the paint is very thin. There's a luster paste, which means it has a bit of pearl, and that's the one I used here, which is called Eyes Ink Pearly Winter Sky. That's what I'm using right now. And then there's a glitter paste as well, and there's all kinds of texture pastes and inks and sprays and all kinds of things. So we're not going to use all the product line on one piece, but we're going to get started with what we have here. I'm just going to minimize my light a little bit so you can see what's going on here. Okay, all right. Now I want to add a tiny bit of yellow in there. And the nice thing about this is sometimes it can be opaque, but you can also make it translucent depending on how thickly or thinly you spread it. Using the same paintbrush, I don't really worry. And I'm just sort of building these layers. And you notice that I'm not trying to be like have any pre-idea of the image that I'm trying to make. I'm just going from the center, moving out, putting in multiple layers. And this is turning quite green, which is okay, because I can go back in and top up what I like and what I don't like. Sorry, I'm losing my voice a bit. Okay, I'm just going to wash out my brush a tiny bit there because we're getting loaded. And, all right, let's dry that up a tad. I'm not quite finished with this yet. Still have a ways to go. Just want to give it a bit of a drying surface. And clean off my brush so I can move on. So show you some other things. Okay. Now this is quite thick. Sorry. I'm not going to be seeing that, so I'm not so much worried. It's what's going on out here that I need to have a little play with. All right, so now this, so that one was called I think Pearly Butter Haze, and they come in all kinds of beautiful colors. Now I'm just going to put a tiny, whoop, all right, and I won't put a tiny, this is glaze. This has a different consistency. Than the Pearly does. As you can see, it's sort of like translucent in a way. Just tapping that on. It will give a bit of texture. Now I want to just draw it in from the outside edge to blend it a little bit. And you can start to see those layers starting to blend in this section here. I have to add a bit more here. You want to just play those in. going to need a tiny bit more. And you're noticing that I'm not like measuring necessarily anywhere in particular. Let's need a bit more here. Gently plopping some out. And I want to have some more coming from here. I might just have a few dots out more towards the white. Okay, oh, and maybe just a tad. Do I need it there? Maybe. Okay. Alright. And literally I have the worst paintbrush in the world for this, so it does not affect how beautiful you can make something. Although it is nice to have very well kept tools and things, but for this kind of an activity, I don't think you want to wreck your best brushes. Okay. So I'm going to draw that back in. So let me see if I can lift this up for you. You can start to see the colors playing on top of each other. Put that back in my water. So let me turn this up just a tad. So if you look at the colors, you can actually see where the reds are crisscrossing the yellows and the yellows are crisscrossing the blues, and then there's a built green in there that was created by a mixing of the two colors as well as a laying over of the two colors. We've got some definite blue spots in there. It's quite pretty when you look at it, and it's kind of a shame I'm going to cover the center, so that's why I'm not making any more moves in there. I need some more blue on this side because I'm noticing that I've got a little more blue going on here, and that I'm actually just going to put to the side, and I'm going to add with my finger. Or maybe I won't. I lied. And add that with my brush. It's going to change the texture if I add my finger. And I'm not quite ready for something like that yet. Okay. So dip my guy in here, and I'm just going to fleck him through on top. This gets a little bit of a surface within 10 minutes or so. So you can blend colors together quickly. I think I need just a little more balance down here, a little more blue. Don't remember if yes, I told you the winter sky, and this one I told you I did not. So this is Ice Ink Ice, so it's not pearly, it's ice, and it's called Freesia. It's a beautiful color. It goes everything from deep, 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 deep kind of, there we go, that should be enough. A deep, deep, deep kind of rosy, reddy, pinky color to a light baby pink. It's kind of cool. And see, I'm now just going over top, drawing back in some of that blue that I lost, and I'm just going to play with it until I like it. And that's basically what you're going to be doing as well. Just mess around with it until you like what you see. I should put maybe a bit more in here, just in case it does show through somewhere. Don't think it will. Okay, there we go. And I think that part is done. Now, there is another product in the line for Seth After that has Eyes Ink Diamond, and this is called Rose Gold, or Rose Eggplant, pardon me. And I'm just going to grab a couple of stencils that I usually have handy here. I usually have one sitting around. There we go. And I'm just going to implant a little bit of this pattern in here. Let's see. Got my draw it out here. Not going to do the whole pattern. I'm just going to do that little area. So I have my stick a little bit of this on my tray. It's very thick, clear-based glitter. So there's no back color to it. It is just a glitter, and it goes into stencils beautifully. And you have to work it a little bit because it is a glitter. So you're just going to add little areas of pattern. And I only pull out a small amount at a time, and it is three-dimensional. So you will get like a pop to it. Just get out different parts of, you don't even need to have the whole image in your stencil, just as long as you have parts of it that kind of just give you a sense of what a pattern, that pattern might look like all together. So a ghosting effect. And I might just have this down here going over both sides because I can. And you want to really scrape the top and get that glitter in there. There we go. And if you get some line around, just spread it around. There we go. We don't need a whole lot of pattern in this case. We are going to do a couple of other things. So this now, you're going to want to put that right in because this will dry and ruin your stencil. So you want to put that into your water. Okay, now where are we at? Alright, sorry I got a piece of glitter stuck to my finger. That's why you need to have your water cloth handy and just rub down that area. Alrighty, so I'm liking the way this is going. And let's move on. Okay, so I'm at the point where now I'm going to make, oh, got a piece of hair in there. Good thing it's stained the color. Nobody will even know it's there. Oh, it's from my brush, my paintbrush. All right. So that was the diamonds. That's called Ising Diamonds Rose Eggplant. And this was Ising Pearly Butter Haze. And this was Ising Pearly Winter Sky. And this was Ising Ice Freesia. Just kind of something new that's out there to give a try to. It's from France. Now I'm going to use this spray, which is a shiny spray, and it's mauve. I actually want to see how this looks aside. So I'm just going to spray it quickly on the back. Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe just okay, a little bit of spray there. And I like using a straw. To break those up and make them a little more wiggly. Not working on my throat so well, but there we go. Or you can maybe use one of these things. I don't know how these are. I know they work for, I don't know. It works. You don't have as much control then as you do with a straw. Alrighty. So we just got a little bit of some dark happening. Oh, and that was one of those squisher thingies. Air squisher thingies. And the final thing I want to add to this is it's called a pigment, and it's kind of an interesting I don't know which one to use. I've got two. I have this beautiful blue one, but it's a little hot. I think I'm going to stick with that one. All right. It's like a paintbrush, and it's opaque, and it's a gold. This one is called, oh, where is the name? Royal Gold. So I'm just going to go in and do some highlighting with this Royal Gold and highlight a little bit underneath. You do want to get some paint on your, just highlight a little underneath some of your painted or stenciled pigments. It's very sparkly, very micro sparkly, I should say. It just adds a little bit of glitter and interest. Another layer. And we'll probably add a little bit more of this in after we put our photos and our paper pieces down as well. And this is opaque. It's going right over top of the red and starting to change the red into an orange. Just painting it on there. a little bit of a sploosh, and I might add a little tiny bit to the bottom of some of the pull them into the color realm. And that's about it. There we go. And then maybe a few little lines in. Just pulling it all together. Oops. It's like a painting, you know, you can just pretty much do anything that you feel. Just got to do it with commitment. All right. I might even do some around the edge. Not sure yet. Okay. So I'm going to take this away and really dry it down before we start our next step. We want this to be completely dry when we put our layout together. So I will see you shortly. Okay. Oh, that might be a bit dark. I tried to change my lighting. Oh, there we go. So you can see a bit more of what's going on in the overall layout. It's pretty cool, actually. I like it. Anyway, okay, so this is all dry and ready to go. I still have them taped together because I want to maintain my center. Now, my plan for this was to have 6 photos, and I wanted to have 4 squares and 2 rectangles. And my thinking on this was that I would have a rectangle up here, and a square. Oh, maybe I'll switch that around. Not that it matters, but rectangle up here, and a square down here, leaving maybe 3/16 of an inch in between, and then a 4x4 photo over here. A little bit higher, I think, covering that. Not concerned about the photos being square. And then on the other side, my thinking was that I would have a 3x3 here, and a 3.5x5 here. I kind of want them to be on different planes. Play around with them a little bit. And then a 4x4 down there. So sort of emulating, but not exactly the same on either side. And my camera, there we go. So you can get a better idea of what that looks like. Okay, now I have to insert some more cardstock because it wasn't a challenge that I use 2 pieces of cardstock and that's it. So I have some colors that match the colors in the background paint, and I picked out some pinks from my little stash, and I got some green and some yellow as well from my stash. So my thinking for this would be that I might have a little bit of the blue coming out from under this painting, or this picture. And then I thought I might pull out some of this out from under there. So they're not going to be stuck underneath, they're going to be separated, but that gives you a location idea. And then on this side, because I have this beautiful piece, I'm going to stick small again up there. And then, it's beginning to look like it's going to be large again. Or I could just make it small on both these sides. Like that. So that goes up there like that. That goes a little higher. Something like that. So there's our cardstock embellishments. And then through the center, I would have a combination of yellow and green. Small bit of green here, larger bit of yellow here, and switching that on the other side. So this is the plan. So I just have to figure out how to lay this out. I think I'm going to start with the center pieces first. So I'm looking at about, I'm going to do 2 squares, one in green and one in, I like the green and the yellow there. So I'm going to do 2 squares. Get my thing out of the way. I'm using my little trimmer. And this is already measuring 2 1/4 inches. So I'm going to cut it 2 1/4 inches. It doesn't appear that the cut is straight, so I'm going to have to straighten out this cut. There we go. And I think that that is now going to be 2 1/4 inches. Yep. So 2 1/4 inches. This one I'm going to do the same. This one again is a little crooked. I'm going to straighten that out. 1/4 inches. Make sure that lines up beautifully. Okay. So there's the tops and bottoms of the 2 1/4 inches squares. So I'm going to have a top and a top here. I think I need the green on that side and the yellow on this side. There we go. Sorry if if my volume is getting low, I'm apologizing, but I'm just struggling to get some volume. Take a little drink. All right. So I have a distance here. And my distance is going to be, it's about 5 inches, let's say. 5 inches. Yeah, I'm going to say 5 inches. So we're going to cut these guys 5 inches long. Now, my trimmer goes to 4 3/4 exactly. I think that if I went to the edge of that, it would be 5, but then I'd have to line it up. So I'm just going to use my ruler to figure out. Go this way. And my cut is going to be here. to say that's 5 inches. I'm going to put both my pieces in. Cut them the same at the same time. Excuse me. Yeah. Good enough. There we go. These go in my now smaller scrap container. And these I'm going to keep. Alright, so there we go. So I want this guy coming up here. Now, sticking these down, you're not going to get, well, you may get your adhesive to stick to it, but I'm not so sure because it's a very slick sort of acrylic-y surface. And I think I'm going to use pop dots for this just because there is a little more hold to them. So grab my pop dots. I'm going to keep the texture on the front as a design element. And if you wanted to cut your pop dots in half, you could do that. And you would use less. I'm not really worried. Just want to keep it down for now. Now with pop dots, you don't have the ability to adjust. So once you're putting it down, you are committing. So you have to be ready to commit. So let's see. I want that to cover that a bit. And okay, so I'm going to give myself a 1/16 from the inch because I need to have an edge when I'm in my page protector. And then that's approximately 1.5 from the top, more or less. It depends where you put your thing at the bottom here. And because the pop dots stay better, I'm not going to put as many on as I would with tape runner. Alright. Plastics like to stick to the acrylic. And then I'm going to give this, about an 1/8. Yeah, about an 1/8. 1/16 from the side, 1/8 from top to bottom. Oh, I forgot to trim that piece to exactly 2 1/4 inches. Can I do it? Am I lucky enough? Oh. Okay. There we go. That was taking a chance. Alright. So we want to make sure we get 2 1/4 inches on here. So I just need to take a small smidge off the side. Alrighty, there. And again, 1/8 and 1/16. There we go. That lines up better. There we go. Now, I'm going to do this side just slightly down. Make sure I trim this before I get started. I want this to be 2 1/4 inches. There we go. Awesome. Okay. And pop dots again. Pop dots are your friend. You could do this with liquid glue too if you wanted to. It's a good idea with mixed media to use liquid glue. It gets in the grooves and gives you good tight hold. But the Pop Dot should work fine on this. It's not a heavy, excuse me, not a heavy paper. I'm going to try and get the grain going in more or less the same direction, and I want to offset this maybe about 1/4 inch, just so things aren't so perfectly lined up. And again, you're going to measure against your own work and figure out where you're hiding this enough but not too much. Right, and 1/8 of an inch and 1/16 of an inch. There we go. There we go. So there's the first 2 pieces. Yeah, see, that's too dark, too bright. Nope. Okay, I'm going to leave you there for now so you can watch as you go. Alright, so there's my 2 opening pieces. And, alright. Okay, so now I wanted to have this guy come over here, but I'm really cutting off. So this is the problems when you love your stuff so much. You know what? It's just decor, right? We have done this before, and we will do it again. Might reduce that to a 3 by 3, and then this would be a 3 by 5. Let's see what I've got here. Reduce that to a 3 by 3. That gives us a little more of that coming in. Okay. And then that would be where my title will go. Alrighty. Yes, I think that's going to work better. And let's see if I have any 3 by 5. No, I have 3 by 4 and 3.5 by 5. No 3 by 5s today. Okay, good enough. So I think changing that to a 3 by 3 was a good plan instead of a 4 by 4. We'll see how it works out on the other side. Alright, now I am going to put a 4 by 4 here. I think I'm going to actually drop this down to here. And I'm going to get my piece of cardstock in there. Alright, so I'm going to take 1 inch of this. See, a little smaller. taking my cutter and just going to take an inch off of this. Find the best looking side. Line it up. Take my inch off. This can be put back. And this is going to fit in here. Okay, so in order to make this all sit properly and to get my glue properly onto my cardstock, which is going to frame my pictures, I need to stick the pictures down with some repositionable tape. And this should be interesting. I've never done repositionable tape on an acrylic paint before, so we'll see how well that holds. Lesson for another day, probably. Ran out of pre-cut, which I usually have just hanging off my stapler here. Okay, give myself my 1/8 of an inch there. So it's going to go there. And line up for my 1/8 of an inch there. For some reason this does not look even. So I just want to kind of play out if this is in line or not. That's 6 inches. That's 6 inches. So yeah, we're more or less lined up, maybe a little off. Okay, so now this is going to go down there. And line up 1/8 of an inch from here. More or less, just making sure that that runs. So this is centimeters, 8 centimeters. Okay, so we're sliding downwards. So this is crooked then. And this is crooked. So I'm going to slide that over a bit. There we go. There we go. Yeah, I don't want it to slide too much because, like, if it does, it's really gonna, don't know why this is coming out looking so sloppy here. Now it's saying this needs to be up here. Here. Okay. Alrighty. Now I'm going to get a little bit of the glue dots again. And I'm just going to put 3 on this one. I don't need to go right into the corners. There's nothing sticking to it, so it doesn't have to hold anything down. Alrighty. And this is going to go and line up 1/8 of an inch. All the way around. Now, Just want to double check that that's more or less even. So I got that. Yeah, that's more or less even. Okay, beautiful. And now I want to put my 1/8 of an inch of this down here. I was hoping this would be a little longer. I'm going to see if I can find a bigger piece of this. So I did find another piece of this that was longer. So I can do what I really wanted to do. So I'm going to take 1 inch of this. I take 1 1/4 inch actually, just make it a little bigger than the other piece here. And I'm going to make that, let's see, 4.5 inches long. So 1 inch by 4.5 inches. I'm going to need my cutter, big cutter, and actually, okay, so I just totally cut that weirdly. I don't know why I did that, but anyway. So I need 1.25 inches, I was saying. I want it slightly thicker. So this is 2 inches. What am I thinking? 1.25 inches. There we go. Lining it up. That's what I was thinking. There we go, 1.25 inches. Now I have strips for my little borders drawer. And now I'm going to make this, did I say 4.5 inches? Sounds good to me. 4.5 inches. This is going in my other little container for scraps. And then this is going to be nailed down there. Awesome. You know, sometimes when we start our trips together on these scrap your scraps, you don't have any idea where I'm heading, but we get there in the end. And no two persons' piece of work is going to look alike, so that's the exciting part of it. And we're just going to put that down, make sure it's some semblance of straight. For some reason it doesn't want to be straight. Not straight. So this to me says 4.5. It says 4.5. Alrighty, there we go. Lined up, everything's about 1/8 of an inch separated. So you can see a little bit what's going on behind it. This is this page now done as far as layout. I just need to put some doodads and a bit of a title happening here. So now we're going to work on this one, and I'm actually going to take this apart now. So we've done our second section, and it just falls apart anyway. So there's our first section. And we've kind of lost our I don't know what's going on there, but anyway, so I'm going to put that up out of the way, and we're going to finish off here. I've got a nice piece there to keep. And that's it. All right, so now our second side, we are going to do a little more quickly because we've already done this once before. We're going to get some tape on the back of our photos. We're going to decide if we want to keep the photos the same size as originally planned, or if I'm going to change them like I changed the other side. Personally, I don't think one thing affects the other. So if I decide to keep the sizes I have on this side, it's all good. Oops. Okay. So I'm going to put our 5 by 7 up here. I'm just going to drop it a tiny little bit. Try to keep it sort of an 1/8 of an inch. And my 3.5, oh yeah, that fits perfectly. I'm happy with that. We're not going to change that in any way. Just going to stick that down. Okay. Keeping that in the 1/8 of an inch realm. It's hard to keep things sort of square when when everything is smooth and slick and shifty. Okay, there we go. Just a quick eyeball, make sure we got it sort of more or less the same. Good. And then my 4 by 4 photo is going to go here. Yeah, I think we're all good. Okay, so again, now I'm going to keep the square, which I originally had of that pink, because it's a perfect mat for something. So I'm going to leave that, and I'm going to go back to this little piece that I cut off from the other side, and we are going to create border here. I think I might use the thinner piece of that though. The 1 inch border across, and then you can see a little more of that. Do I want a small piece or a big piece? It doesn't matter. It's covering no matter what I do. So let's smooth that out. And we're going to have that hang over. And that's going to be about 4.5 inches like the other one. And we're going to keep this 4 by 4 photo. Not going to reduce the size of that. You want to make sure that you have good size photos, especially if you're doing photos of people. If it's of scenery things, it doesn't have to be as close up, you know, and as detailed, because you're looking at a scenery. You're not looking at people's faces. But if you're looking at people's faces, you want to try to make sure that you're seeing. Why does that look so weird? Okay. Alrighty. So there we have that, and I'm going to take 4.5 inches of this 1 inch strip in that pink color. That's going to lay out there. Get dots on it. See, once the first page is done, the second page is pretty easy peasy, because you have already got sort of a direction. You don't have to be thinking about too many things. I didn't really think much about anything here other than color choice. And I'm going to line that up. About there and there. Just make sure we have an about. Yep, looks good to me. I don't know what the exact measurement is, but just giving that. I build everything from here over, so if you, as long as you're adding that 1/8 of an inch, you should end up on the page okay. This piece, I want a little chunk for underneath, so I'll use the other piece because I've already cut that other piece. So why not use more of it? And I'm going to make this 1 1/4 inches. Oh, it seems like the lighting is really off. Lighting goes off every once in a while. I have to put it up. I guess it depends what's in front of it. And so I'm going to cut that 1 1/4 inch piece. Alrighty. And I'm going to put that, excuse me, at the bottom. So that was actually 1 1/4 by 3 1/4. 1 1/4 by 3 1/4, if you're worried about measurement. Two. And yes, you get this curling up happening on your pages, but once you put that in a page protector and it's in a binder, you don't have to worry about that anymore. It'll flatten itself out over time. Okay, so now we're going in 1/8 of an inch and 1/8 of an inch. Just measure that, make sure it's about even. Good enough. All right, and there is our basic 2-page layout. Second page did nothing. It's just getting things going on the first page. There we go. So there is our layout. Now, from here, we can do all kinds of things. We can add a title, which I happen to have a few things down here I'm looking at. I like papers that have words on them. I'm not so sure the colors are going to go so well, but they're not bad actually, but you never know. And then I have all kinds of random things in here. I also have gold letters, which will kind of bring out the yellows and the gold. Got black things. That's kind of cute. Say cheese. I could put that down there. I like it down here. Put something down here. Okay, so there's a billion different choices I have. I just have to pick one. So I can have your story. Could go there. Or I like this one here that says like you mean it. And I'm thinking this could be like an active page. Anyway, okay, the other thing I could use is this. Put that back together. The say cheese one would be easy. Actually, you know what? I'm going to keep your story. I kind of just like those words. And I have a stepdaughter who's working really hard right now, so I'd like to do a 2-page layout of how hard she's working. So one of the things I'm going to do on here to make this interesting is I'm going to round the corners first of all. I have this corner rounder that has different size corners on it, and I'm going to choose the smallest one, which I have become enthralled with because it gives nice little rounded corners. Not the standard big beautiful ones you get from most corner rounders. There we go. I know for a fact I'm pop dotting this, so I just gotta find my pop dots. Doesn't really matter what color. Oh, there's a whack there. I have all kinds of different pop dots, different companies. Pop dot's a pop dot to me. Just has to be a useful size. I'm happy. Okay, so I'm going to do the 4 corners because this is quite a long piece. And I'm going to do top and bottom in the middle. Oop. Oh, yeah. And I'm going to split one here and one here, and that should be good enough. Get this off my finger. Make sure I push those all down. Pushing your pop dots down makes it a whole heck of a lot easier to get the backs off. If you haven't stuck them down completely, you'll find that they'll pull back off and cause you annoyance. So just making sure they're stuck down will save you some aggravation. Okay. Let's see. Again, just gonna try to give an alignment to my piece here. Your story. Don't think that worked the way I wanted it to. That did. Okay, that is weird. My glasses must be off or something, but that looks crooked to me. No, this just wiggles around, that's why. So we are finding out that our tape is not so great to stick on and hold fast to the acrylic paint. It's good to know, but ultimately these get ripped off anyway. So, all right, now this is really nice, but I want to just add a few more things. So I have some pre-cut flowers that I cut out of paper, and I just want to find the colors that I want. These aren't them. One quick second. We will get some flowers that are going to coordinate will coordinate. So these are just papers that I had left over in my stash, not enough to really do anything with. So they're floral. So I hand cut them close as I could at the time, because I don't know necessarily what I'm going to do with them. But I'm going to add a couple in here. And let's see here. These are edges. I don't really need edges, although I could have a couple of edges. Put a little bit underneath this sign. That would be fun. Okay, so I'm pulling out a couple of things just to augment my page with a little bit of floral fun. And I will trim them more carefully and add them to the page. And this is like super simple to do when you have them all completely pre-cut for you. I don't really like that. I could come out of there. Let's see. I like using these ones that are corners because, there we go. Often you can find places for full flowers, but the corner pieces are the ones that you end up not using or throwing out. So it's kind of cool if you can find a place for those corner pieces. So I like what's happening here. I might find something else, just swing that a little bit. There we go. Beautiful. And now get these off of here so I can get a better image of what I'm working with. A little bit of flowers there, flowers here. Might need something there and something there. A little more than that. Do something like that. And let's see what else we have. Don't want anything too big. There we go. That's it. That's all I'm doing. So I'm going to trim these down a little closer and glue them down and show you how to round them and glue them down. Some pop dots and some regular glue. Okay, so I've trimmed these down just a little bit, but just about my fussy cutting. I still leave lots of white there. I leave white where it's natural to leave white so that things don't get cut off the images. And then I just go to the edge of the outside of all of that to keep it all together. Now, what I like to do is I like to pop these a little bit. So anything that has a round shape, I like to make sort of like a bubble. And anything that has leaves that are like a spiky shape, I like to have them the leaves come up out of the page. So when I see a flower like this, I just go in with my finger on the back and gently curl it. Now make sure that you don't pull off the nice little flower leafy bits. And I'm going to curl these spiky leafy bits back the opposite direction. All right, so this gives you your little tiny bit of pop. So now I'm just going to lay that right on there. Find my pop dots, which which I know are around here somewhere because I just had them. Maybe I'll start with one page at a time. Dots, where'd you go? Wow, that's a mystery. Okay, so pop dot set 1 is missing, so I'm just going to grab, oh, another package. There we go. So now when I pop dot them, I just pop dot the center of the circle. Oops, this came all off. And then the leaves I want to sort of stay onto the paper, so I'm going to use my tape runner. And just where those leaves are, put a tiny piece of tape runner just to hold them there. And you have to be careful because you can rip them off easily. Alright, so I'm going to take my backs off. Again, you should push those down so you don't have struggles getting those backs off. That's going to go just tucked underneath there so that the tape doesn't affect this image. Okay, so this image is going to go under there. Alright, I'm going to do the same for this one up here, rounding the centers of the big flowers. I'm going to put some adhesive here so that it holds it on that corner. Rounding up my leaves gently because they will disappear and get ripped off if you don't. And with little flowers like that, I put just a dot of glue. So, again, pop dotting, little adhesive here, adhesive here, adhesive here, and oh, I did have a glue pen at one point. And let's see, we'll use this glue, it's handy, and a little touch of glue. Right there on those two little guys. Make sure my pop dots are down. And then just tuck that under like that. There we go. And it just gives it a bit of a 3D element to it. So it lifts it off that page. Down here I'm going to do the same. I'm going to put some glue along that one so these two pop. These guys are going to fly out. And then I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on the back of that one. So, adhesive there. Pop dots here and here. Adhesive. A little more adhesive there, there, and there. And make sure my pop dots are down. This guy's going to tuck under there, like that. Just got to make sure that this leaf stays in the scene. Okay, there we go, popping. go. This I'm just going to put a pop dot, kind of curl the edges gently. And it's just going to have a pop dot on the back. I could put a half a pop dot if it doesn't fit, but it fits okay. So he's just going to sit there all perky on its own. Rounding this and giving that a bit of a round. These guys are going to stay flat. This is going to curl towards me. Alright. And pop dot there. Pop dot there. Don't really need, well, maybe a bit of glue in this one little flower here. And that one there. Just so they stay on. Glue there. And poking that under the corner. Like so. There we go. Last one for this page. Rounding this flower. I'm going to bend it right there so that it can have its own pop to it. And just rounding this in general. Leaves go the opposite direction, gently. And this guy is going to have a little adhesive on it just to keep it. There we go. And so this is going to have its own little pop. And pop dot there. Little adhesive this on there. Okay. And that should fit in there and not be affected by, not be affecting that photo. There we go. Do you see how three-dimensional that page now looks with all those flowers popping off them? Alright. Photos are going to be there. And just finishing up this page and we're done. And that's all it really takes. It's just, it's not a huge amount. This is not done with pattern paper, although we did incur pattern paper when we created our flowers, but I mean that would be considered ephemera in my way of looking at things. Okay, something strange happened with the video just then. It cut off when I was finishing up the flowers here, but here we are with the finished layout. You notice that things are sliding around. A couple of things are happening in my studio right now, and humidity is a big part and parcel of all that. So things are not sticking too good in terms of the repositionable tape, so we won't use that again, but want to just kind of give you a look-see at all that dimension and texture that you created or will have created with your paints. Like, this is just a marvel to look at. You can look so deep into that paint and see what is all combined together to create those colors. It's crazy. Anyway, I think it's pretty stunning. Not bad for a cardstock layout. And so we're done. Hope to see you next Thursday. And I'm back. Glad to be back. See you soon. Bye now.